Hey there guys, Mike signing back on again here for a third video. I know in the last video, the first one I did I should say, about DC wiring, some people were asking what the status of the layout is, and they were wondering really what the concept of a common rail is, only when it comes to DC wiring. All my videos and all my layouts are going to be based on DC wiring because I still think it's something that people don't do enough. And just mainstay that DC is kind of taken over that traditional model railroad wiring setup. Anyways, I won't go on too much about that because we all have our own mixed feelings about wiring. But I'll show you the progress of the layout. It's come out actually pretty good. The white spray paint was where I had originally laid the cork down, and as you can see, it kind of varied on how it laid out. All my orange, I should say green tapes, are to individualize where my electrically isolated blocks are. I'm going to be starting a mountain range in this corner that will come down into a mine. It's going to be a mix of styrofoam and styrene sheets, as well as the classic thing that my father and I did of using cardboard strips and paper towels soaked in plasticine, and it gives a really nice rock look. The wiring is 100% complete. That was done about a month ago, and everything works really, really good. Now, the one thing I thought I'd just kind of quickly show you here, guys, is my control panel. And I just want to comment on how easy this was to manufacture. Anybody can do this. All you have to do is I went to like a local home hardware up here in Canada, and got the thinnest sheet of plywood I could get my hands on, brought it back home, planned out the design of what it is, and pretty much you just follow your exact layout onto here with pencil. Spray paint it with a color first, or paint it with a color that's going to be really, really bright. So I chose white, and that's your first base coat. Then you take green painter's tape, the same type that I've used, and it's used in household masking, and you lay out your design of what you like, and then you cut a width of what you want to show up through, and I used about a 3 centimeter rule for everything here. You peel back the rest, leave the green tape on, paint over it with a dark color so it dries. So now the white is covered, but the green tape is still there. And when you peel back that green tape, you have this amazing layout look, and it works so very well. The unfortunate thing is I didn't drill the holes first, so there's a bit of chipping in it, and as you can see, the waterproof switches that I was demoing in the first video are holding up very, very well. In fact, they're holding very well, and they work very efficiently. Now, as far as the wiring goes, and going to common rail, the easiest thing that I can show you is going back to my diagram that I have laid out here, and this was the same diagram that was used in the second video for turnout wiring. Now, you have to remember that the common rail is the power rail. I use the black wire or the negative off of your power pack. That's going to remain consistent throughout the whole layout. And pretty much what I've done is, if you can imagine this sheet of paper is the layout table, a 4x8 layout table. I've taken the power box, so I'll draw a box here, that's our power unit, and I'll mark this negative in this corner. And because it's a dual controller, I took both the negatives and I tied them together with a suitcase connector. It's just a poorly drawn little diamond here. Then I took that and I ran it the entire length of my layout underneath the table. So just went all the way around. And then pretty much somewhere around here, I brought up the main wire and I soldered it to what is now going to be the common rail right here. Now, to keep even and consistent flow of electricity, you're going to want feeders. So I have this set at, if I'm not mistaken, a 12 gauge wire, which was pretty big, but that was what I had to work with at the time. And I started going backwards, and anywhere in about, I'd say about a 2 to 3 foot gap, I would take a suitcase connector, bring a 14 gauge wire, smaller now, bring it up to the common rail, and solder it, and then so on and so forth all up to here. That way you don't have one feeder for the entire consistency of your model railroad. You now have multiple points that electricity can flow to that common rail. And this is why sometimes when you look at people's layouts and they're running DC and they turn up the rheostat on the cab control, and in far corners of the layout it seems to want to die. It could be due to dirty track. It also could be due to poor wiring to begin with. But sometimes, remember, electricity fundamentals is the longer electricity has to travel, the slower it's going to go. So what you want is you want to lower that resistance. You want to have as much electricity getting there as possible, and that's why you have all these feeder wires feeding it consistent flow all the way throughout the layout. And I have that going all the way through to my yard, in through the mountains, all the way through here. Now, I know I mentioned before in my first video as well that DC wiring can be kind of time consuming and it can be messy. And this was me doing a wiring job really post haste, but this is kind of what you end up with when you have something as quickly done as what I have. I don't recommend doing it this fast or in this fashion. A lot of the time these guys, model railroaders, will take these strip connectors, which are right here, and mount it vertically underneath the model railroading table bed itself, and it takes all this wiring and sucks it up underneath. I chose to keep it on the side because it's easier to read and I'm not going underneath. There is going to be a valence curtain that comes in front of here that's going to hide all this wiring, and I still have a lot of cleanup to do. I have self Velcro strips that's used for tying up cable ends on the back of TV stands, and I'm going to use that to keep everything nice and tight against the bottom. The next inevitable stage is getting major scenery components done and ballasting the track, and I hope to do a video on it. I don't think I'll go into great depth because there's a ton of videos online of ballasting track. And I think that will be about it for right now. If you guys have any questions or comments, if I went too fast on common rail terminology, that's great. If there's any questions on DC wiring in general again, or if there's anything specific, please message me or email myself, and I should have another video hopefully in the next couple weeks here with more progress on it. Thanks again for your views, and take her easy, guys.